What if someone read your entire book, pulled out the most critical ideas, had a conversation about it with no script, no agenda, and just pure synthesis? Well, that's exactly what you're about to hear. Welcome back to The Root of All Success. I am the real Jason Duncan. And today's episode, well, it's a little different. But if you've ever been curious about the philosophy behind building a business that doesn't trap you, this particular episode might be the most valuable 20 minutes that you spend all week. So here's what happened. I took my best-selling book called Exit Without Exiting. I took the PDF version of it, the ebook, and I fed it into an AI tool called Notebook LM. This is Google's AI, one of Google's AIs. And what it gave me back was a full podcast. Two AI hosts having a real conversation about the frameworks, about the mindset shifts, about the strategies, all the stuff that I write about that helps entrepreneurs escape the slavery of business ownership and build something that actually sets them free. I didn't give them a script. I didn't edit any of this. It's just AI synthesizing everything I've written into one focused discussion. Now, whether you've read the book or not, this is a great way to absorb the core ideas of the book. And if you've been on the fence about reading it, this might just convince you. Now, I'm going to be back at the end after these 20 minutes, and I'm going to share with you a few thoughts about what they got right, what they might have missed, what you need to pay attention to. But for now, let's see what happens when AI breaks down how to build a business that works for you, not the other way around. So here we go.
We all know the feeling, right? Pouring your heart and soul into your business. The long hours, the constant hustle. But what if there was a way to kind of shift that feeling? Like achieve real freedom and build wealth without being completely consumed by the daily grind. And what's even more intriguing, what if you could do it without actually having to sell your company?
You're talking about the exit lifestyle, right?
Exactly. And that's what we're diving deep into today, guided by Jason Duncan's book, Exit Without Exiting.
Now, Jason's story, it's pretty fascinating. I mean, the guy's got a master's in education, a bachelor's in ministry, spent 13 years in pastoral roles, then another 4 as a school teacher.
Wow, quite the journey.
Yeah, and then in 2010, he jumps headfirst into the entrepreneurial world, starts 12 companies, gets featured in Inc., 5,000 in Entrepreneur magazine, becomes a self-made millionaire, the whole 9 yards. But what's really valuable here, I think, is that this whole diverse path gives him like a super grounded perspective on what it really means to build a business that actually serves your life, not the other way around.
I love that. And he really hammers home this point about time, right? How it's the ultimate non-renewable resource, like way more precious than money. You can always earn more money, but once a moment's gone, it's gone.
And he illustrates it with these really powerful stories in the book. There's Cheryl, for example. She ends up fully exiting her business, gets a huge payout, everything you'd think would be like the dream scenario. And then there's Edward, who goes through this much more stressful earnout situation after selling his company. But what's really striking is that both of them, despite these different exit outcomes, they both look back with these regrets about, the personal time they sacrificed while building their companies, all those missed moments, hoping for this payoff down the line.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what's the point of all the success if you miss out on actually living your life along the way?
Absolutely. And that's where James's story, another example from the book, is so interesting. He builds this like $7 million revenue company, pulling in, a solid 500 to 700K a year for himself. But the difference is how he did it. He was really intentional about building the business through delegation, systems, all the stuff we're going to get into. And that allowed him to be truly present for his family, like coaching his son's lacrosse team, being there for his daughter's recitals, all that good stuff. He really achieved that exit without exiting that Jason talks about. Built a valuable asset that generated income and freedom at the same time.
I love those stories. They're so powerful. So, okay. Here's our mission for this deep dive. We really want to extract those key strategies from Jason's book that can help you, the listener, start building your own exit lifestyle. We're going to break down what it means, why it matters, how to actually work backward to design your ideal outcome, the core principles that can accelerate the whole process. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of delegation, stress reduction, putting those solid systems in place, investing in your team, how to sustain this lifestyle once you get there.
Yeah.
And then, ultimately, how to build a legacy that goes way beyond just like the financial success of your business.
And it's worth pointing out that Jason's path to all this, to this whole philosophy, it wasn't exactly a straight line. Like, initially, he dreamt of being a car designer as a childhood passion, you know? Yeah. But life had other plans. He ends up in ministry, teaching, and then kind of stumbles into entrepreneurship almost by accident with this LED lighting company. He finds financial success, but like so many entrepreneurs, he ends up trapped in the day-to-day. Like, his coach at the time actually called it the ironic prison of entrepreneurship. He even considered selling, but quickly realized the business was so dependent on him that a clean break just wasn't feasible.
Oh, I bet a lot of our listeners can relate to that feeling.
For sure. And that's actually when he starts intentionally implementing the very principles he writes about in the book. So this wasn't just some like theoretical idea for him. It was born out of necessity, from his own experience being in the trenches.
Okay, so let's talk about this today and future exercise Jason recommends. He literally tells you to draw 2 boxes. And in the today box, it's all about brutal honesty. You look at where you are right now, your income, your assets, but also, and this is crucial, how you're actually spending your time. No sugarcoating allowed.
Right. And then in the future box, you really let yourself dream big. No limitations. What are your ultimate career and lifestyle aspirations? Is it complete financial independence? Owning a bunch of properties, traveling the world, having more time for hobbies, family, maybe making a real difference through philanthropy? Whatever truly excites you, that's what goes in the future box.
So here's where things get really interesting and where I think a lot of people get stuck. That gap between your current today and your grand future, it can feel massive, almost impossible to bridge.
Totally. It can be totally paralyzing.
Right. And that's where Jason introduces this idea of reverse engineering your exit. Instead of trying to make this huge, overwhelming leap from where you are to that ultimate vision, you focus on identifying a significant but more attainable intermediate step.
It's like setting a crucial waypoint on a long journey. So let's say your ultimate future is, I don't know, earning $3 million a year, working just a few hours a week, having complete freedom. Well, maybe the step right before that, your intermediate goal, is hitting $2 million in annual income, owning 3 investment properties instead of your target of 5, and freeing up, say, 20 hours a week.
So you're basically breaking it down into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Exactly. And suddenly that intermediate goal, it feels a lot more tangible, more achievable. And that makes the grand future seem less daunting, less impossible.
It's like using a GPS, right?
Yeah.
You put in your final destination, and it doesn't just tell you the first turn. It maps out the whole route, often working backward from your endpoint to where you are right now. It factors in all the possible paths, the obstacles, everything.
I love that analogy. And in the same way, this reverse engineering for your exit lifestyle, it helps you anticipate the challenges, strategically plan those steps you need to take. It's not just about hoping you'll get there someday. It's about creating a roadmap.
Makes total sense. And Jason found that for many of his clients, just clearly defining this intermediate step, it didn't just make their big goals feel possible, it actually made them more probable.
That's the key. Because that initial leap from today to future, it can be paralyzing. But focusing on that step right before future, it just feels so much more within reach. It changes your whole perspective and, actually drives more immediate action.
Okay, so we've got our roadmap. Now, how do we actually start making progress? How do we accelerate this journey toward the exit lifestyle? Jason outlines 4 core principles that are like super powerful levers for this transformation. And the first one, probably one of the most crucial for entrepreneurs, is embracing delegation.
Oh, absolutely. This is a huge sticking point for so many entrepreneurs, right? Jason even calls it hero syndrome. You feel like you have to handle every problem, put out every fire, be the one to save the day.
Yeah, I know that feeling all too well.
We've all been there. It's like Edward from earlier, classic hero syndrome. He resisted delegation, convinced no one could do things as well as he could, but guess what? It backfired big time when he tried to sell the business. Lower valuation, ended up in that brutal earnout period where he basically had to train his replacements on all the things he hadn't let go of for years.
So trying to be the hero actually ends up hurting you in the long run.
Exactly. It limits your business's growth and your own freedom.
And Jason makes this really important distinction. Delegation is not the same as confiscation.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Because confiscation is like you hand off a task, but then you're constantly hovering, micromanaging, and eventually you just swoop in and take it back because it wasn't done exactly your way.
Which just creates so much frustration for everyone involved.
Totally. It teaches your team to be passive because they know you'll eventually take over anyway. True delegation is about trust, about empowering your team to own their roles, give them clear expectations, the resources they need, and then, accept responsibility for the outcome, good or bad, without constantly interfering.
And I love how Jason brings in McCluskey's margin theory here. It's this concept from sociology that talks about learning capacity, but it applies so well to entrepreneurship. Margin, in this sense, it's like the space you have in your life. The ratio between your power, like your energy, your resources, your skills, and your load, meaning all the things you're responsible for.
So if your load is constantly outweighing your power,
You're operating with zero margin. You're stressed. You have no time for strategic thinking, no personal life, and definitely no capacity to deal with those unexpected curveballs that life throws your way. Effective delegation is a fundamental way to reduce that load, to create that vital margin, and give you the breathing room you need to actually grow and experience freedom.
it's like delegation creates space in your day for those things that really matter. And to put this into practice, Jason recommends this 10-block weekly scheduling method.
I've heard him talk about this. It's not your typical time management thing, right?
Exactly. It's more about focused energy management. You identify your key recurring tasks, and then you structure your week into 10 blocks, roughly half-day chunks, usually 5 mornings and 5 afternoons.
Okay.
And the key here is that you assign specific categories of tasks to each block. So, for example, your Monday morning block might be dedicated to strategic planning, while your Tuesday afternoon block is for all things sales-related. And you really have to resist the urge to switch focus within those blocks.
So it's all about minimizing those distractions and getting deep, focused work done.
Right, because research shows that it takes like an average of 25 minutes to fully refocus after an interruption. And by having these dedicated time blocks, you drastically reduce that wasted time and mental energy.
Yeah, I remember Jason saying he uses simple visual cues, like sticky notes on his monitor, to stay aligned with his 10-block schedule.
Love it. Simple but effective. Okay, let's move on to principle number 2. Eliminate stress.
Oh boy, I think we can all relate to this one.
If there's one thing entrepreneurs share, it's stress, right? But Jason provides some really actionable strategies for managing and reducing it. He talks about these open cycles, which are basically all those unfinished tasks, nagging thoughts, uncompleted commitments that are constantly running in the back of your mind, just draining your energy.
It's like having a million tabs open on your computer. The more you have open, the slower everything runs.
Exactly. And each open cycle, no matter how small, it adds to your overall stress burden. It could be anything from replying to an email to outlining a huge project. So Jason recommends creating an open cycles inventory, literally writing down every single thing that's taking up space in your head. Just getting it out, externalizing it can be so powerful.
It's like decluttering your mind.
Right. It brings clarity to what's actually demanding your attention. And then the next step is to intentionally work on closing as many of those cycles as possible. Some you can tackle immediately, others you might realize are better delegated, and some you might need to consciously park for now if they're not urgent. Giving yourself permission to temporarily close those cycles that aren't actionable at the moment, that's key to reducing that mental load.
Makes sense. And he also talks about this difference between rhythms and routines, which I found interesting. Like, for some people, those structured routines are great. They create predictability, reduce decision fatigue, all that. But for others, it might be more about establishing rhythms, those regular patterns and habits without the strict adherence to a rigid schedule.
It's about finding what works best for you,
Right.
what gives you that sense of control and reduces stress.
Exactly. Don't try to force yourself into someone else's idea of a perfect routine if it doesn't feel right for you.
Okay, principle number 3, establish systems and processes. Jason makes this really cool connection to the Industrial Revolution. Think about how things shifted from individual manual labor to standardized processes on assembly lines.
Right, like mass production.
Yeah, and that drastically increased efficiency, predictability, quality, everything. And it's the same for your business. Instead of relying solely on your personal effort, your memory, your intuition, you want to document and standardize your key tasks, those workflows.
So you're creating consistency and predictability.
Exactly. And that leads to better outcomes, more reliable quality, and ultimately higher profitability. Think about your sales process, onboarding new customers, internal communication, all of it. Are those things happening consistently, regardless of who's handling them?
Good point.
Documented systems create a more resilient and scalable business. And Jason gives this really practical example with this perfect sales sequence. It has 5 key steps, starting with understanding why people buy. And he boils it down to 4 main reasons: relationship, need, timing, and ability to pay.
So basically, do they like and trust you? Do they have a problem you can solve? Are they ready to buy now, and can they afford it?
Exactly. And your sales system should be designed to figure those things out early on.
Makes sense.
The next step in the sequence is creating a 20-point matrix. This is all about identifying your ideal prospects quickly and efficiently. You set very specific criteria that define your best customers, so you can filter out those less promising leads early on. You don't want to waste time and energy on deals that are unlikely to go through.
It's about being strategic with your efforts.
Right. And then the third step is presenting the cost of inaction. You have to clearly and persuasively communicate those tangible consequences of not solving the problem your product or service addresses.
Help them understand the true value you're offering.
Yes. Then, step 4 is appealing to emotions. Logic plays a role, but buying decisions are ultimately driven by emotion. You need to connect with those desires, fears, aspirations, pain points, all of it.
It's about making that emotional connection.
Absolutely. And finally, the 5th step is secure agreement on the solution. This is where you and the customer agree that your offering is the right fit for their needs and challenges.
And that's when the sale happens.
Precisely. And having a systematic sales sequence like this, it takes the guesswork out of it, makes things more predictable, and frees up your time from constantly chasing those unqualified leads. Okay, we've arrived at principle number 4, invest in people.
This is a big one.
Huge. Jason really emphasizes that your team, your people, they're the only asset that truly transcends the life of a business. He even brings in a biblical reference, saying that investing in people is like investing in something with enduring value.
I like that. It's not just about seeing your team as an expense, but as an investment in your future freedom.
Exactly. And he outlines 4 key ways to strategically invest in your people. The first is, of course, hiring the right people in the first place. And his big thing here is hire slow, fire fast. He actually provides a whole 10-step hiring process in the book, but the emphasis is on thorough culture checks and a solid onboarding process.
So making sure they're a good fit from the start.
Right. Then number 2 is staying laser-focused on company culture. He talks about this power of 10% concept. It's this idea that even a small group within a larger system can heavily influence the whole thing.
So those negative influences, you have to address them quickly.
Absolutely. He shares this story about a guy named Corey, super productive employee, but had a negative impact on the team. It illustrates the cost of not addressing those cultural issues head on.
And he's implemented some really interesting cultural initiatives in his own businesses, like unlimited PTO, but with the condition that employees have to make sure their work is covered. And he also has these 5 pillars of excellence: culture, data management, cost management, communication, and service.
Nice. And finally, the 4th way to invest in your people is financially. He shares this example where he took $80,000 from his own compensation and gave it to key leaders in exchange for them taking over certain operational tasks. His whole point is that strategically spending money to buy back your time is almost always a worthwhile investment.
It's about leveraging your resources to free up that most valuable asset, your time.
Okay, so now the big question. What kind of timeline can people realistically expect for achieving this exit lifestyle?
Right. How long does this actually take?
Jason gives some general guidelines, but it really depends on a few factors: your company's revenue, number of employees, age of the business, and your management style. For businesses under $500,000 in revenue, it might take 18 to 24 months to see big changes because you need that financial runway to hire and train people.
Makes sense.
If you already have 10 or more employees, it could be faster, maybe even less than a year if you're really embracing delegation. Newer businesses might take a bit longer because you need time to develop those systems and processes. And of course, your management style plays a huge role. If you micromanage everything, it's going to take longer to transition.
It's all connected.
Exactly. So once you start experiencing those benefits of the exit lifestyle, how do you actually maintain it? Jason highlights 4 crucial areas.
Let's hear them.
First is team clarity. Everyone needs to be crystal clear on their roles, responsibilities, and communication protocols. Lack of clarity just leads to confusion and wasted effort.
Right. Then there's financial oversight. Even though you're delegating a lot of the tasks, you're still ultimately responsible. You have to stay informed about those key financial metrics without falling back into that financial hero trap where you're constantly bailing out the company.
Yeah, that just prevents the business from becoming truly self-sufficient.
Exactly. And Jason has this rule: if anyone gets paid, everyone gets paid, including the owner.
Love it. Principle number 3 is establishing clear authority and autonomy within your team. Empower your people to make decisions and execute tasks without constantly needing your approval. But you also need those clear protocols for when and how they should escalate things.
So it's like giving them freedom within a framework.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And lastly, legal matters. Some decisions just require your direct involvement.
makes sense.
Neglecting any of these 4 areas can pull you right back into that daily grind you're trying to escape. And finally, Jason talks about this idea of leaving a lasting legacy, one that goes beyond just money. He talks about It's a Wonderful Life, how it reminds us of the impact we have on others.
Beautiful movie.
He even encourages this exercise of writing your own eulogy. Like, think about how you want to be remembered, both personally and professionally.
It's a powerful way to get clarity on your values and what really matters.
And it can really motivate you to align your actions with those long-term aspirations. It's about creating that true generational wealth, not just in terms of money, but also your presence, your guidance, your involvement in your family and community.
Because at the end of the day, those things are way more valuable than chasing those ever-increasing profits.
Couldn't agree more. So I want to leave you with this. Think back to those today and future boxes. That gap between them and that crucial intermediate step that can make your future a reality. And remember those 4 principles. Embracing delegation, eliminating stress, establishing systems, investing in your people.
It all starts with taking that first step.
Exactly. What's one small, concrete action you can take today, not tomorrow, not next week, to start designing your own exit lifestyle? Maybe delegate one task, close one open cycle, document a process. It's all about recognizing the value of your time and making a choice to leverage your resources, your finances, your team to gain more of it. Don't wait for some imaginary future exit. Start building that freedom today.
All right. So that just happened. You know, the whole point of the root of all success, this podcast, is to uncover the real keys that unlock entrepreneurial freedom, not just financial success, but actual freedom of time and margin. And the things that I talk about: energy, money, time, choice, and purpose. In other words, the ability to be present for what matters. And what you just heard, well, that AI conversation hit on something that most entrepreneurs miss. You don't have to wait until you sell your business to experience freedom. You can design that right now. The today and the future exercise, reverse engineering your exit, the things I talk about in the book, the 4 core principles: delegation, eliminating stress, building systems, and investing in people. These aren't just ideas. They're a roadmap to building a business that works for you instead of the other way around. Now, whether you've been in business for 2 years or 20 years, the question is the same. Are you building something that's giving you more life, or is it slowly taking it away? Now, here's what I'm going to do, because I thought this was such a cool episode where Notebook LM just turned my book into this 20-minute podcast. I'm going to give away free copies of my book, not ebook, the actual physical copy of my book, to the first 20 people who respond. Now, there are a couple of stipulations. Number 1, you got to be in the continental United States to get it. And second, you just have to pay a small shipping and handling. I think it's like $5 or $6. It's on the site. All you got to do is go to therealjasonduncan.com/free book. therealjasonduncan.com/free book. And it's Duncan is Duncan, by the way. And all you got to do is do that and claim it. There's no catch. I just want to get this whole physical copy of this book in your hands. And if you've already read it, well, let me know if the AI nailed it or if it missed something critical. I'm genuinely curious. So hit me up on Instagram or LinkedIn at @therealjasonduncan. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this experiment. I'm going to be back next week with a guest interview, but until then, remember, don't wait for the exit to start living the life you want. You can build it now. As always, I am the real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.
Attention business owners. Attention business owners. Feeling burnout from running your business? Uncertain if you're nearing burnout? Take our free 10-question business burnout test at businessburnouttest.com to discover where you stand. With just 10 quick questions, you'll learn how to immediately begin making changes to regain freedom and success. Cut your daily operations time in half. Improve your quality of life and prepare your business for your future exit without losing revenue or profit. Visit businessburnouttest.com now and take the test. Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.